Have you been triggered emotionally recently or even today by someone, and now you are blaming that person for your emotional pain? Well, this is something we do as human beings. It is not uncommon, I guess you know, and I want to help you to find a better way than blaming other people. Hey, I am Cummins, and if you're new to this channel, I want to show you how you can turn this around and actually empower yourself out of this situation so that you can live your life from love instead of blaming. So when you are blaming someone else, it's always because you feel hurt, right? In some ways. And the human self or the ego mind doesn't like to admit that you are not actually dealing with your own emotion, and instead it likes to blame, it likes to make someone else wrong because it doesn't want to accept or admit that it is not right this time, because it wants to stay right, it wants to be right, yeah? It doesn't want to be the one who's done something wrong. This is very hard for the ego mind, and therefore a lot of people are still blaming, and they keep on blaming because it's the most easiest way to do. It's what we all do, it's what we learned, what we've seen in our society, and it's a lot harder to take responsibility for what's happened, at least 50%, yeah? Because whatever happens, whatever scenario is coming up in your life, you are always 50% a part of that. I even go a step further because I want to empower myself. I want to be the one who is in charge of everything in my life. So I am absolutely willing and loving to take full responsibility for whatever is happening in my life, because that's the only way where I can fully empower myself. And it's also the only way to actually live your life from love and, you know, full acceptance and embracing everything as it is, instead of blaming, making wrong, judging, putting down, you know, criticizing, and all those negative traits, yeah? So you probably know that when you are trying to blame other people, you are putting the responsibility outside of yourself, yes? And that, of course, can never help you to become more empowered. It cannot help you to live from love and peace. When you are blaming other people, you're doing that from an inner uneasiness, a lack of peace for sure, and even a tumultuous feeling. You kind of try to get rid of that feeling by blaming other people and kind of telling them, you deal with it, you sort it out, it's your doing, you did this to me, you made me feel like this. And how does that feel? Never good, right? It doesn't make you peaceful, and it doesn't solve the situation. And the other person then might also come from the ego, and then you're having a real big argument at hand. Or the other person is just ignoring you, or they don't even know what's happening. Fact is, you cannot change the other person, right? So to empower yourself, step one is always to look within, to take back your power that you have tried to place outside of you. And now instead, just acknowledge that you're trying to blame. And make a decision that you don't want to do that anymore. You probably have already done that. And now it is an exercise, it's a practice that we all need to go through. When we have that desire, let's say the intention in our mind, in our consciousness, to not blame anymore, because that's how it starts, then we will get better at it automatically. But we have to decide, you know, we have to really fully decide and not let this same issue come up again and again and not do anything about it, not really taking your power back fully. Every time you're trying to blame, every time you are projecting your pain out onto someone else, it's a chance for you to empower yourself more and to become more your own master of your life, you know? See, because if you want to live a harmonious life, if you want to live from love, from peace, from joy, if you want to be happy, you have to choose that. And that means never blaming anybody else, never projecting anything outside of you, because your life is created from deep within yourself. Because you are the creator. You are sending out the energies, the thoughts and the feelings that are creating your reality. This is how your reality is created, with your feelings, your thoughts and your intentions. So the more aware you are becoming, the more aware you are becoming of your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, the more empowered you are becoming. So I want to invite you to, number one, stop blaming. Take back your power and empower yourself by saying, this is my doing, this is me doing this is my creation. And I can also change it, and I can uncreate it or create it anew. I can create a new situation for myself here and now. And isn't that wonderful? And doesn't that feel so empowering when you do that? Wow. I love that. When you can humble yourself, when you can humble the ego mind and telling it, no, I'm not going to go with you anymore. I'm going to empower myself this time. I'm going to own that, yes, it is 50% my doing. Even if you're somebody, your wife, your partner, your husband, your boyfriend, if they cheated on you, say, they sort of seemingly broke your heart, there is always a part that you have played in that too. Even if somebody humiliated you in front of a class, a group, whatever, there is always a part that you're playing in that. And it could just simply be that you're believing that you're not worthy of a loving treatment, that you're believing that you are not wanted, that you're not good enough, or that you're bad or wrong, you know. It could just be a belief that is creating this scenario. But life always wants you to evolve and to come back to your heart and to empower yourself. Life wants you to be at peace and in love and in joy with yourself, so that you can create a happy life, because that is our natural essence. And so everything in our lives will always help us to come back to that, to our heart and to our soul. So when you feel you want to blame somebody, it is an amazing opportunity to do that. It's never bad. It's never, tumultuous or unsolvable. It always is, if you decide that you are the creator in your life and that you can master this situation, that you can master your ego mind and you can master your emotions. And because you always can. But you need to decide that. And the first step is always the hardest, when you have to humble yourself. You have to admit to somebody that you love or who's close to you, which maybe you haven't done before. But doing that is mighty empowering, and it's also very, very beautiful. To humble your ego is a very beautiful act. And it does take guts, it does take courage at first when you've never done that before. But I want to invite you to start doing it now, always, and really make it an intention of never blaming someone else again. And therefore you take back your power, and therefore you become the creator of your life and the sovereign in your life, who decides what happens and who decides to make herself or himself happy. A deal? Let me know if there is something that you want to ask about this. Let me know how easy this is for you, if you have struggles with this, or if you are actually on the path already. And I'd love to hear from you. And if this was helpful, please do give me a like, share the video, or subscribe if you want more tips on how to live your life from love and learn to love yourself more, because this is what it's all about. If you want to have a happy life, if you want to feel fulfilled in love, it all starts with you, right? That means you have to love everything about you. And when you are blaming other people, you're not loving yourself. You are putting the responsibility outside of yourself, and you are not able to love that that struggle in you, you know, that the ego doesn't want to admit that you actually are part of this. And this is not loving yourself. If you don't want to admit and you can't speak the truth, you're not loving yourself. Because truth and love are really the same. You will always be able to speak the truth. It will be no problem to you when you are loving yourself fully. The ego has a big problem with that, because it's not loving itself at all, because it is thinking it's a separate unit and it doesn't get love from your heart and from your soul. So that's why it needs to learn to humble itself and to admit, yes, I did this wrong. I made a mistake in blaming you and not taking the responsibility for this situation. Okay, so let me know if it was helpful. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.